There comes a moment in life when everything familiar begins to fall apart at the same time. The plans you trusted stop working. The people you leaned on become distant. The path you thought would lead somewhere meaningful suddenly disappears beneath your feet. And in the silence that follows, you start asking yourself dangerous questions. Questions that keep you awake at night. Questions like, what if I'm falling behind? What if I ruin my life without realizing it? What if everyone else has found their purpose except me? You carry these thoughts quietly. You smile in front of people. You continue your routine. But deep inside, something feels painfully unsettled. Like your soul knows you no longer belong where you are, but it also cannot see where you are supposed to go next. And that space in between can feel unbearable, because uncertainty has a way of making you doubt your worth. It convinces you that being lost means being broken. It whispers that if you cannot see the destination, then you must be failing. But what if this moment is not failure at all? What if the confusion you feel is not punishment but preparation? What if your life is not collapsing, but rearranging itself in ways your current perspective cannot yet understand? Sometimes the universe removes things from your hands because they can no longer carry you where you're meant to go. And when that happens, it rarely feels peaceful at first. It feels like loss. It feels like grief. It feels like standing in the middle of an empty road with no signs pointing forward. But endings have a strange disguise. They often arrive looking like disasters before they reveal themselves as beginnings. You were taught to believe that clarity should come before movement, that certainty should arrive before change. But life does not work that way. Some of the most important transformations begin in complete darkness. A seed does not understand the soil while it is buried beneath it. It only feels pressure, and that can be frightening, because humans naturally want certainty. We want guarantees before we leap. We want proof before we trust the process. But some journeys only reveal themselves step by step. You're not meant to see the entire road right now. You're only meant to trust the next small movement of your heart. That is enough. You do not need to have your whole future figured out tonight. You do not need to force clarity from confusion. You do not need to rush your healing because the world is moving quickly around you. Your timeline is not broken. Your path is not late. And your worth is not measured by how fast your life makes sense. Read that again quietly within yourself. Your worth is not measured by how fast your life makes sense. Some people spend their entire lives chasing noise because silence forces them to face themselves. But you are beginning to awaken, even if it hurts, even if it feels lonely, even if nobody around you fully understands what you're going through. There is wisdom being born inside this season of uncertainty. You are learning how to listen to yourself again, not the fearful voice in your head, not the expectations of society, not the pressure to constantly achieve and prove your value, but the deeper voice beneath all of that, the quiet inner knowing that has always been there, patiently waiting for you to slow down enough to hear it. That voice does not scream. It whispers. And right now, it may be whispering something important to you. Something simple but life-changing. It may be saying, stop trying to force what no longer belongs to you. Because forcing is exhausting. Chasing is exhausting. Try to become acceptable to everyone while abandoning your own peace is exhausting. At some point, your soul becomes too tired to continue carrying what was never meant for you. So life intervenes, not to destroy you, to redirect you. And redirection often feels painful because it interrupts the future you am. There is something powerful that begins to happen when you stop resisting the uncertainty in your life. Not immediately, not all at once, but slowly, like sunlight entering a dark room one quiet inch at a time. You begin to notice that the fear loses some of its control over you. The constant pressure to have every answer starts to fade. And in its place, something softer begins to grow. Trust. Not blind trust in the world. Not blind trust in other people. But trust in yourself. Trust that even if you do not understand this chapter yet, you will survive it. Trust that your soul would not crave change so deeply if it were not meant to experience something greater on the other side of this season. because deep down, you already know something has shifted within you. You can feel it in the way your heart reacts to things now. The conversations that once excited you suddenly feel empty. The goals you once obsessed over no longer carry the same meaning. Even your loneliness feels different. It is no longer just sadness. It is a signal, a quiet invitation to return to yourself after years of searching for fulfillment everywhere else. And maybe that is the real redirection happening in your life. Maybe life is not trying to lead you away from your purpose. Maybe it is trying to lead you back to yourself, back to the version of you that existed before fear took over, before disappointment taught you to doubt your own instincts, before survival mode became your normal state of being. Somewhere along the way, you became so focused on avoiding pain that you stopped listening to what truly made you feel alive. You learned how to function, but not how to feel peace. And there is a difference. A person can appear successful on the outside while feeling completely disconnected internally. They can smile in photographs while silently carrying emptiness inside their chest. They can keep moving every single day while secretly feeling like they have lost touch with because this is where rebirth happens, not in moments of comfort, but in moments of surrender. The caterpillar does not become the butterfly by trying harder to remain the same. It transforms by dissolving completely. And maybe that is why your life feels unfamiliar right now. Maybe parts of you are dissolving, so something more honest can emerge. You are not failing because your old life no longer fits you. You are evolving. Read that slowly. You are evolving. And evolution requires release. It requires endings. It requires trust in things that cannot yet be seen. That is why healing often feels disorienting. Your external life may not immediately reflect the internal changes taking place. On the outside, everything can appear uncertain, but internally, your spirit is learning how to breathe differently. You're learning how to stop chasing people who cannot meet you emotionally. You're learning how to stop forcing doors that require you to shrink yourself just to enter them. You are learning that peace is more valuable than approval. And once you truly understand that, your entire life begins to change. Because peace changes your decisions. It changes the way you speak to yourself, the way you spend your energy, the way you love, the way you walk away from things that once trapped you. Peace teaches you that protecting your spirit is not selfish. It is necessary. For so long, you may have believed your sensitivity was a weakness. Maybe people told you that you think too deeply, feel too much, care too intensely. But what if your sensitivity is actually part of your wisdom? What if the reason crowded environments exhaust you is because your soul craves authenticity? What if your emotional depth is not something to hide, but something sacred to protect? The world often rewards numbness. It teaches people to disconnect from themselves in order to survive. But your spirit was never designed for numbness. It was designed for truth, for connection, for meaning. Because right now, you are learning one of the most important truths of all. You're learning that being lost is not the same as being abandoned. Just because the map disappeared does not mean your soul has no direction. Some paths can only be discovered when the old ones vanish completely. And maybe that is what is happening here. Maybe life removed your certainty so you could finally discover your truth. Not the truth others assigned to you. Not the identity shaped by fear, pressure, or survival. But your real truth. The quiet truth that exists underneath all the noise. The truth that says you do not need to become someone else to deserve love, peace, or belonging. You already deserve those things now. Not after you achieve more. Not after you heal perfectly. Now, this moment, as you are. And perhaps the greatest transformation of all is finally understanding that your worth was never something you had to earn through suffering. It was always within you, waiting patiently beneath the fear, waiting beneath the confusion, waiting beneath the endless pressure to become more. So if your life feels uncertain right now, breathe. If the future feels unclear, breathe. If you feel disconnected from who you used to be, breathe. You're not broken. You are being redirected toward a life that reflects your deeper truth. A life with more alignment, more honesty, more peace. And one day, when you stand in a place that finally feels right for your soul, you will look back at this chapter with different eyes. You will realize that the confusion was not the end of your story. It was the moment your real journey finally began. And in that moment, everything that once felt lost will suddenly make sense.